Hello everybody. I'm just getting started to do a full rehab on this Singer Model 501A. I've been dismantling it and I came across that these needle plate lifter pins were originally stuck, and it reminded me when I had this problem years ago, I looked on YouTube and online for help, and there was a lot of misinformation. One of the worst pieces of advice I saw was to, if it only comes up partial way, was to stick screwdrivers in here and pry these up. And there's some people advising that these pins pull out the top. So I thought I'd do a quick video on how to unstick them, remove them, replace them, and so forth. In the Singer models, 400s, 500s, I think some of the 600s, this lever is to lift the needle plate. So when you bring it up to 12 o'clock, it lifts it partially to bring the plate up above the feed dogs. So you can embroidery, freestyle, and darn. Then to change the plate, you move it all the way to your left, which raises it to the highest point, and you can slide the needle plate. So when they're stuck, and sometimes they're frozen or they won't go up all the way, here's what I do. You can spray them with a little bit of WD-40. Just give a squirt or two in this area. Try and get it in there, especially if they'll come up a little bit, so you can sneak some in there. But whether they're stuck or how hard they're stuck, really the best way, especially since I'm going to be tearing this machine down, is to work from the bottom side. So there'll be a thumb nut here, and you can pull off the drip pan. So this is the bar coming from that lever. And as that bar moves, there's one pin, and behind this retaining nut is the other pin. And as you move this lever, it pushes up or releases down. So in those lifter pins, inside is a solid steel pin, and then on the outside are some springs to hold tension against the needle plate. And if this is totally frozen, I'll try and move and spray from the bottom up. I've also just stuffed the area with a rag or alcohol and squirt or spray alcohol in there. I have used a hair dryer to kind of heat the area up and let it cool a couple times, and that expansion and contraction can break free of the varnish that's kind of glued everything together. The key is that you need to raise this lever to the 12 o'clock position, about 12 or even 11 o'clock, straight up. The problem is this nut right here. In the older models, this was a metal nut. Now they've gone to nylon, and because these are old, they're very brittle. So I've cracked a couple of these trying to get them out, and they're really hard to find replacements. What you need to do, you get that up there, and you've got to be able to push this towards the top of the machine as far as it'll go, and I'll show you why. It's the way the nut is made. So you've got to have some freedom there to push that up. You can see it going in there and going up. You can wiggle this around, like if it's all the way up, you can't push it as far as if it's halfway up. So when you can get some freedom in that and put that lever up, you need to hold this in as absolute far as it'll go, and try and gently turn this nut. See, it won't quite break free there. If the nut's frozen, you can put oil or WD-40 or alcohol. Try and heat it a little bit. So I usually wiggle the lever and keep pushing on it until I find a spot that I can get it up as far as it'll go. Hold it there and try and turn it. And it's still not wanting to break free. So I'll try and push the washers up a little more. There, did you see that? Try and push this one up a little bit more. But what it's going to hit on eventually is the lever is going to hit this mechanism right here. So that's why you need to find the spot you can push the absolute farthest and turn this nut. Now normally the nut would be flush with the bottom of this. This one seems a little bit farther in, and you can see I'm struggling. I'm starting to strip it. So I'm going to work on this a little bit more. Try and lube these up a little bit and get them to come up more. And then when I feel that I can break that free and get that nut, I'll come back and finish the video. So I just been working this. I sprayed a little more WD-40, worked it a little bit more, and manipulated this to find the thinnest point where this bar will push all the way up against the bottom of a hook rod. And once you can get that up that far, you'll gently start turning this. It's almost there. Let me manipulate it a little bit more here. Moving that lever around as you push, you'll feel the farthest point. There it goes. So, I've got so much WD on here, it's coming out. Now, that's how to get that out. So you just have to be patient, get it free, and get it to where you can push this lever up all the way against this metal. Once you get it out, you'll see how it locks in there. It's kind of a cross-cut nut. Now this will swing right out once the nut is out of there. So what's happening is when it's pushed in, you tighten it, and then the spring will push it back and lock it against that. When it's pushed back enough, you can loosen the nut. And I mean, it can be almost, but the nut will still be there. What happens is you force it, is you'll strip this out, or you'll crack off one of these corners. So you just, like I said, be patient, keep pushing that in, manipulate this lever to the place that allows you to push it in the farthest. For this machine, it was with the lever all the way to the left, got me there. Once you get this nut out, this just swings right out, and there's a bracket that holds the lifter pins in here. And you see that bracket goes to the machine first before the pin. So if you're up on top trying to pry these out the top, there's no way the bracket or base of this pin is going to go through there. So once you get that out, you see there's the spring. There's another little spring in here. I can get it out of there. There you go. Inside these are the push pins. So So you can completely take them out. This one's pretty gunked up. So there's a lot of grit and dust and varnish that gets in there. Now you can see all the way through there up to the top plate. So you can clean that out with alcohol swabs. I have a little brush from the 99-cent store that I'll dip in alcohol and run in there, and kind of like cleaning a gun barrel or a baby bottle, and get that all cleaned out. Clean these up with alcohol. I polish them with metal polish. I just use Brasso or Peaks, P-E-A-K-S, Peaks metal polish if I can find it. And that way you can get them all cleaned up. And this bar, like I said, swings out. You can clean off that whole bar, get all the old grit and gunk off of it. And then if you want, you can even take out these two screws and take this plate off, and you can remove this whole thing by pulling it out the bottom and clean all that up and oil it. Then when you reassemble this part first, then you're just going to put this back together. And you can see the position this has to go. This round one's going to have to go in the round place here for the nut. The square one will go over here. And you see how it drops down and comes over to match this right here. So this is going to end up right in there. And then you're going to push your pins up through that. So you can assemble the pins first. Flat end of the base against the flat end of the bracket. Flat end of this base against the flat end of the bracket. That'll ensure that your openings are facing each other towards the center. You can drop these pins in here. They'll go in a lot easier when they're all cleaned up. Put your springs on like that, and then when the whole thing is assembled, you can just gently slide it into place there. There you go. And then once it's in place, put the lever back in. Go ahead and open up the lever. And then again, you have to hold this in as far as it'll go and put your nut back. And again, I found these nylon ones to be very, very fragile. So really, really take your time with them. Usually when I put them in, I've had to back them up a little bit until they seat. Push the lever in and then slowly tighten this up. And usually you want this about flush with the metal. So get it to where you think it's about right, and then try your needle plate. If it won't lift it high enough to slip the needle plate on and off, you can try tightening it more. But I know from experience, if you force it and over tighten it, the nylon will flex and let you tighten it, but you'll never get it off in one piece. So now it's going to be a lot smoother for you. We've got it in there, we've got it tight. We flip this over. and then there. You can usually tell that you've got good height when the bottom of that opening, see the opening right there, you see how the bottom of the slot is up above the hole. That means your needle plate should be high enough to clear this back piece. But look, there's a spring in there, so they can go higher. So again, if you can slide your needle plate on and off, you're great. If it's difficult, you can go back down and you can try like another pushing that in. You can try another quarter turn, but just be real careful and do not force that. So getting some good WD-40 or alcohol or oil even to break it free and get it, manipulating it so you can get it to the point you can push it in. That's the way to do it. Just take your time. Thanks for watching.